Hi, this is Amber Rain Davis from Notable Ink. Welcome to my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'll be making a card for the Altenew Educator Certification Program. I'll be using Altenew's Build a Flower Magnolia Stamp and Die set. This comes as a bundle. It has beautiful blooms and an excellent assortment of sentiments for many occasions. We're going to start off by creating 5 die cuts with the die included with the set. This is the Mini Blossom die cutting machine from Altenew. It's perfect to keep on your desk for sentiments and small dies such as this. So we'll run that through the machine and create 5 of these die cuts in order to stack them together. We're going to be doing some dry embossing with what we'll create as almost a chipboard piece. So now we're going to glue those 5 pieces together. This will create a thick die cut so that we can use this to dry emboss. It'll take a little trial and error on your part to figure out the correct sandwich for your particular situation. I'm using the Bait platform, 2 cutting plates, and a thick embossing pad. And I'm just running that chipboard piece through over the cardstock, and you can see it impresses into the surface. A good tip is to put your correct combination, write that down on your chipboard piece, and then you can store that piece in your stamp pocket for future use, and you won't have to do that trial and error again. Now what we're going to do is stamp the outline image into those impressed areas on the card front. It does take some maneuvering to get the stamp in the correct place. You really want to put your head right over the stamp so that you can see what you're doing. So excuse my face in that shot, but I wanted to make sure I had it lined up well. Just going to condition the stamp with just a regular white eraser. I haven't used this stamp set before, so I want to make sure that it's conditioned well and able to take the ink so that I get good coverage. So I'm going to ink it up with some black permanent ink. And then for each time that I ink this, I do ink it twice for the outlined images. So you'll see that here. Just make sure you press down on all the areas. If you have any air bubbles in your stamp, you may not get good coverage, so you want to make sure that you get your stamp on the platform really well. This is the Tonic Studios Tim Holtz stamp platform, which I absolutely love. I think it's particularly helpful for layering dies so that you can do multiple ones at a time, and you'll see that next. So again, I'm lining this up. You can see when I press it down, I had cleaned the stamp, but it left a ink residue there. So I'm using the Tombow mono eraser to erase that ink. This tool is a lifesaver. I highly recommend everybody have it in their stash. So now I'm going to use a piece of acetate so that I can keep my card front clean. I'll take that off and stamp this image one more time. When I embossed these panels, I went ahead and embossed 4 different panels with a different arrangement on each one. We'll only be using 2 of those today. So this time I'm going to ink up the flowers in rouge ink, and that's blush ink, and then I'll do the stem in lava rock. So I put both colors of the ink on at the same time, and I double stamped these images to get good coverage. Now I'm going to start creating 4 die cuts. So we're going to do layering stamps. I cut a piece of cardstock in half. I'll do the outline of all 4 pieces, and then we'll go ahead and line up the solid images, that first layer. This is blush ink for the lightest. This is the Sunset Mini Ink Cube set from Altenew. It's beautiful colors. This is the second solid layer, so this adds the first set of detail. You're going to see that I don't have it completely lined up, and I'll point that out in just a minute. So that's also the nice thing about doing this in multiples. So you can see right there, I didn't have it quite lined up, so I'm going to take the opportunity to reset that. That way the remaining 3 stamps will be perfectly placed. So I'll use this first one as a test image on each one of the stamps that I do. and this is rouge ink. And we'll continue with the remaining layers of this stamp set. So you can see that was perfectly placed. So we're going to speed through these layers. It's very similar for each one. Again, you can see that that wasn't perfectly placed, so I'm going to redo that and get that lined up correctly for the next 3 images. So here we're adding the green, and the colors of the ink will be below in the description and in the product section. So this also adds the detail. So I die cut those, and then I took some time to do some arrangements on them. Also took a look at the sentiment to see which sentiments I wanted to use. I'm going to go ahead and ink up those sentiments. And then after I have them inked up, I'm going to clear heat emboss them. Here I have some gray wood grain cardstock. I trimmed down the card panel by 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch on each side so that I could have a pop of gray at the sides. I also popped it up on some fun foam. I'm going to glue that to the card base. And then we're going to use one of those die cuts to add a pop of color to the card. So again, I popped that up on some foam tape. I'm going to trim off the excess from behind and add some sequins to embellish. Some of the glue squeezed out of the little hole in the sequin, so I just sopped that up with my stamp chamois. It's this Ranger multi-medium mat. And then we'll move on to the next card. I wanted to use red on the edges for a pop of color, and I didn't have that cardstock to match. So I meant to use the crimson ink, but I started off with rouge. So here you can see I'm just adding a second layer with crimson. I wanted it to be the brighter pink. I did not let that dry completely. So you're going to see when I put it on, I'm going to get a smudge of red, but right now I'm going to pop up this flower at the bottom with foam tape. So you can see I've got to erase that with the Tombow mono eraser again. Red is really quite tenacious, so I was able to get the red smudge off at the very top of the card, but I couldn't on the side. So what I'm going to do is just add another die cut there. I actually cut off the other half of that die cut, that test die cut where I had messed up or didn't have it aligned properly. This side of that looked really good, so I went ahead and utilized that piece up top. We're going to embellish with some sequins. And then these 2 cards will be complete. I hope you enjoyed this card set for the Altenew Educator Certification Program. If you have, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, to my blog at notableink.com, and hit the like button below. Thanks so much for stopping by.